One of the most common aspects of the golf swing that golfers mess up is the transition from the backswing to the downswing. What golfers don't understand is that they think that if they swing really fast and hard from the top, by the time they get to impact, they'll have a lot of speed. But the exact opposite is actually usually true. Learning the sequence of the transition and the sequence of the downswing and the technique of impact, the proper positions, is really 99% of the golf swing. If you can sequence everything correctly and get into the proper impact alignments, you can play great golf, hit the ball a long ways with no effort, and enjoy the game for the rest of your life. If you don't take the time to learn to sequence everything correctly, you will struggle forever, you will flip the ball, you will hit it very high and weak, you'll scoop it, you'll never take a divot, you'll never compress the ball. And that's really one of the most enjoyable parts of the game of golf, if we're honest. I'm a decent putter. I don't love putting, don't really love chipping, okay at all of those things, but I love the feeling of a compressed golf ball. And if you learn how to go through the sequence correctly, you will be able to do that perhaps for the first time ever, especially if you keep working on the impact alignments. So this is a very, very important video. Here's what we're going to do. In order to sequence this correctly, you're going to have to go through the same mundane tasks that my students do, which is hitting a lot of quarter and half and three-quarter shots, to learn to master the sequencing and the timing of it in order before you ever move up to a full swing. So here's what you've got to understand. You're going to work through things very, very slowly at first, and very chunky and in clunky steps at first, in order to be able to do the moves correctly. Then we'll build up to full speed. So here's how it works. At the top of the swing, you're going to go to the top and pause, just like we always do. Now what you're going to do is you're going to add the piece that we've already worked on, the down cock drill, right? Shift to the left, wrist's going to bend back, club comes in narrow, close to the right shoulder. From there, the next piece is bringing your hands to your right thigh. If your hands get to your right thigh and the club shaft is still parallel to the ground, you have all the lag in the world that you possibly need to hit a good shot. If you get down to your right thigh and the club is like this and you've lost the angle between your right wrist and the club shaft is no longer parallel to the ground, or it's parallel to the ground out here as you start down, you're in trouble. You're going to be scooping it and flipping it for the rest of your life. So, in order to avoid that, we're going to down cock and shift, pull the hands to the thigh, and then work on our impact alignments and release. What you want to feel if you're really, really struggling with this and you've always casted the club from the top because you spin your body coming through, it's the most common cause, because what you're doing when you rotate your body is you're creating centripetal force. And because of that, there's going to be an opposite and equal effect on the other side, which is going to be centrifugal force. And that means if you spin your body fast, the club's going to want to be thrown out. And by the time you get to impact, you're scooping and flipping. So as you're doing this, you're going to keep your upper body and even your hips, for many hip spinners, feeling like they're shut. So as I do that, notice that my left shoulder is very low. It's not working up and out like this. My left shoulder is low. I've got a lot of lag, and then I can release the club. What you're going to feel if you really struggle with maintaining lag is that you're going to forget about the right thigh, and you're going to think about getting the back of your left hand to the pant seam on your left thigh, so where your left arm is basically vertical to the ground. So now we've got a nice right angle here, 90-degree angle. The club shaft is still parallel to the ground. If you're a better player, you don't want to work on getting your hands that far ahead unless you want to hit just a ridiculously low shot, because you're going to also start getting to the point where you can't release the club face, and so you'll block it out to the right a little bit when your hands get too far forward. Better player, learn to sequence it, and you're in this position, you just need to start releasing the club. But if you're someone who's really, really struggled with casting the club and you've never been able to get rid of that, you're going to sequence down cock to the right, to the left thigh, and then release it. So it's going to feel a little bit more exaggerated for you. The one thing I want to point out from down the line is that as you're coming down, we want to start making sure that that club face is squaring early, and that squaring the club face video, squaring the club face early video. And so as we come down, when at our checkpoint here at this right thigh, you want to feel that that club face is slightly shut. In other words, this would be toe up, that's square, this would be wide open, we're going to have to flip that one. So at this point, if my club face is slightly shut, there's going to be very little rotation coming through the hitting area where you want as minimal timing as possible. The more open your face is, the more you've got to flip it and try and learn to time that and slam it shut. If it's a little bit shut, as you come through, the club face is going to be rotating relatively slowly. And that means you're not going to have to work to time a flip so aggressively. So as you work into hitting shots with this, at first you want to work on just doing it without a golf club, or flip the club upside down, go to the top, shift and down cock, pull your hands down. As you get comfortable with that and you start working with a club, Then what you want to do is start going through the clunkiness of it, and that is going through piece by piece and pausing at each step. So we're going to shift and down cock, pause, right thigh, pause, hit the ball, pause, checking our steps along the way every single time. So at first, my students hit the ball maybe 10, 15 yards. Then they slowly start adding up. From there, they can start adding a little bit more timing and sequence to it to glue it all together. But for the first half hour, they may only be able to do this, this, and this, and hit a lot of half shots until that's done perfectly. Once that's done correctly, then we start going through the whole thing very, very slowly, still pausing at the top, and then sequence everything very slowly. And then we can start to put some speed into it, and then we can start to get some real speed into it. So work through it really, really slowly. Feel like you start down really slow and gradual, working on the technique and the sequencing, and you'll find yourself in positions that you've never even dreamed possible in a very short period of time.